it's a beautiful Saturday here, and that's Carlos Alazraqui right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Munching on DiGiorno pizza and celery so as to combine carbohydrates with fiber.
Yeah. You've got at least 2 grams of fiber in that meal right there.
Mm-hmm.
Celery. Do you know Jimmy Schubert? You ever work with Jimmy Schubert, the comic?
You use more.
Yeah.
You're burning calories eating it. It's just water.
That's right. Celery's negative calorie food, folks. That's all I'm saying. Jimmy kills me. I've known him since like the early 90s, early mid-90s. That's a guy who was born to be a comic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how many TV or movie roles you give him. That guy's going to find a stage. And he's just, yeah. And I have to give you your props, too. People know a lot of your voice acting credits. They know a lot of your on-camera stuff, the Reno 911, you know, the Rocco's Modern Life, those things. But, folks, if you've not seen Carlos on stage, you're missing out, because it isn't just that you have your written material that works really well. I've seen you go up there and just say, I'm going to work stuff out. And you're just sitting there thinking, and you're churning it out, you're workshopping it, and it's a really good time to watch.
No, thanks. That's good to hear, because I think we talked about this during our practice session.
Yeah.
For me, comedy was always a means to an end, and I got good at it. And, I sort of laid off it for a while. And maybe when we come back and we're able to go live again in non-outdoor drive-through situations,
right?
That's something that I'll do again, because it is, as you know, it's fun when it goes well, and you're riffing and all the synaptic gaps are firing and everything. Those nights are fun. But as we're parents, at the end of the day, especially if we have a work day, we kind of want to stay home. And it is a younger man's game, even in town without the road. It's still a younger man's game. Hey, got to get you a spot at the Improv on the 10 o'clock show. Oh, Chris Rock is going to come and he bumped you. So now it's 12 at night, and you're like, for 10 minutes, wow.
Yeah.
It's not going to get me anywhere except for if I'm practicing for something, then it's worth it. Like, I have But as you know, it's tough.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I stopped doing the road in 2003. I think I did one sort of token gig around 2009, just a Vegas thing. I knew the booker, and it was just a nice trip out of town. And funny, you leave the road for 5 or 6 years, you come back, and the first thing you think of is, you people are still smoking cigarettes? Come on.
Yeah, Midwest, my friend.
Yeah.
I remember performing at Zany's on North Wells Street in Chicago proper, as well as in Schaumburg. But that Zany's was a shoebox. It literally was. Larry Reeb was that guy back then.
Reeb. Yeah.
90s and early, I guess even during the Taco Bell, maybe early Reno days. But that place, at the end, they stopped smoking. But before they could, whoo.
Man.
It was tough.
I did a gig in Des Moines, Iowa. I think it was a Funny Bone in Des Moines, Iowa.
I played that.
Yeah, 97. One of the best audiences I have ever had. Even my riffs, even my pure improv was getting applause breaks. But the smoke was so thick that one of my contact lenses popped out in the middle of the set. It just said, I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm done. I can't filter anything else.
I got to get out of here.
Yeah, done. So, but I tell this to aspiring voice actors, and I tell this to other voice actors who sometimes are wondering, geez, what else can I do to get an edge? And I say, I'm not going to lie, that stand-up background is a huge plus, especially for commercial copy, when so much of it is comedic. You got to find the joke, find the rhythm. Yeah. Stand-up just preps you for that.
Yeah. I thought there was something wrong with my lawn, and then I saw my neighbor's lawn, and then I thought, wait a minute, something's really wrong with my lawn. Yeah, all that kind of copy. Yeah, it's boot camp. It's front lines of comedy, and it teaches you timing. It's where I got my, I'm having a bachelorette party! And it's like, thank you for that voice.
Yeah.
But, you really grind yourself and learn a lot. It gives you a lot of resources. So stand-up is great training, along with improv.
Yeah. I just had Andrew Cascino on not too long ago, and Cascino came from the world of hip-hop, and he's done a lot of voice acting. And I told him, he told me that he used to do rap battles, like 8 Mile style rap battles, where it's you versus another guy and everybody's watching, and you're not supposed to come with written rhymes. You've got to just pull it out there on the spot. And I said, okay, I've now officially found the one thing that is more terrifying than stand-up. Said, you know what? Stand-up is the hardest thing there is, except for rap battles. That's the one thing I would not want to be bad at, because you are through.
Yeah. goodbye 8 Mile, hello 1 meter.
Yeah, because even doing improv, you usually have somebody else with you to pull your weight. And with stand-up, it's all you. If you fail, they just personally judged you. But in a rap battle, at least the audience isn't getting in your face, firing back at you as your stuff isn't landing.
And you're finally, ironically, your final rap thing is actually good. I got no game. I'm going down in a flame. Hey, that was good, but I got nothing else.
Yeah, you pulled it out. You're only good when you're bombing. There was a comic, I hope he's still with us because he had an illness a few years ago, but Ted Norkey. I don't know if you had ever worked with Ted Norkey. He was a Midwest comic. Ted Norkey he's a pretty edgy style. He's very funny, but he was really funny when he started bombing, when the audience just wasn't with him. And then he would just go, you just see this sort of pall cast across his visage, and then he would start pulling out the dark stuff. And it was hysterical stuff. And the comics would all sit in the back. And there's nothing comics enjoy more than seeing one of their own eat a shit sandwich.
Oh, and then there's nothing more that a comic enjoys on stage than having those comics watch and enjoy it and go, dude, that was so. You could make a wait staff or a staff person or a bartender laugh at a club or other comics.
Yeah.
You didn't care then what the audience was
saying.
I know. Because they get it. And Andy Kindler was always one of the best at doing that too. Oh, people, come on, all right, you don't deserve me. He is so good and comfortable at bombing, and it was beautiful to watch. Paul Kozlowski was one of those guys. Paul and Tom and Bobcat Goldthwait and Dan Spencer were in a group called Uncle Stinky's Dipsy Doodle Review. They all knew each other. And of course, Bobcat, as a comic and a director, actor, probably went on camera-wise to be the more famous of anyone.
Right.
But watching people bomb, because Kozlowski could do it so well. And it's a beautiful thing to watch because you share the pain. It's like getting hit in the nuts.
It's happened to you. Yeah. And you're just, I mean, no one is ever going to confuse comedians with being the most warm-hearted people all the time. But when you're seeing something happen that's awful and you know it's happened to you, but thank God it's not happened to you in this moment, especially if you're friends with the comic, you know that when they come to the back of the room, it's like, dude, come on, I'm buying. All right, let's go talk about it. So it's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's that's a similar thing that can happen in a group, in an ensemble cast in voiceover when you see Butch Hartman used to play us against each other when we did Fairly Odd Parents. He was the tough love dad. Oh really? My God, what are you guys doing? I thought you could act, Carlos. Let's do it again. And I'd try it, and Tara would go, no, 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 no. But when it came down to it, we got it. We had each other's back because we've all been there where you just cannot get a line out.
Right.
Why can I say the Beetle goes to the bathroom? The Beetle, hold on. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
The other actors are going, I'll take that line.
Yeah.
And we're just fucking with each other. And that's a really similar kind of vibe there.
Yeah, there's a friendly competition I see too, and you coming from the on-camera world as well. I haven't done on-camera in years, but I did enough to know that an on-camera waiting room for an audition is a tense place, and I do not like it. An an audition waiting room for voiceover is about the most fun you could ever have.
Yeah.
Everybody's just having fun. Like if they're anything like you or me, I look at my copy and then I just put it aside. I like to be fresh. I don't like to overdo it. And then I just start chatting. Whoever's up for it, let's have some fun before we go in, because that's how I get prepped.
Yeah. I'm the same way, and I can respect other people that don't do it that way, but me too, because especially with VO, you're not memorizing, you have the copy, you most likely read it before a couple of times at your house. Yeah. You just want to brush over it and go, I know that this guy's going to be one of the, hey, pal, get out of here. I know he's going to be in that range, so I've got it. Yeah. You know, I get all the jokes, and it's because we read so much copy.
Yes.
Yes. So we know, we get the beats. The worst is when you come to a callback, and your agent plays that callback for you, and let's say it's just something like, boy, I ain't got no idea how I'm going to put out the fire all alone. So you're coming into that callback with that voice and like, no, we didn't like that one. We're thinking maybe more New England. I'm like, I'm not really good at New England. I like, you know what I cannot do is I can't do a vampire because it turns into Russian. Like, and that's like 101. You should be able to, I want to suck your blood, but then it turns into comrade. Right. And my French always turns into German.
Okay.
Those are two of my weakest things that I probably should study, and I haven't. But those are like, so that's like, I always will choose Spanish, Scottish, or British, or even Australian. If it's cartoon Australian, yeah, like I play Tad Tucker on the new Looney Tunes, and that I'm going to fall off every now and then. I'm going to fall off, right?
Right.
But when it's authentic Australian, it's like, I really got to do my work.
It's tough. My brother, a non-actor, cracked the code on Australian, at least the basic audition Australian. You're not going to fool somebody from Sydney, but he said, I figured out how you do it. You keep your tongue in the middle of your mouth. And I said, wait a minute, keep your tongue in the middle of your mouth and let the words sort of roll around it? I said, by God, you're right. And sure enough, I booked a job for Qantas where they wanted an Australian, just saying the cliched sort of things, shrimp on the barbie, struth, all that sort of stuff. And so I slated in character. I read the copy using my brother's hack. I booked it. I show up and I said, hey, I'm here to record. And they said, you're not Australian? I said, no. Am I fired? No, it's fine. It's fine. I realized, holy shit. We'll stay on it. I thought
that's pretty impressive without having a physical model from which to emulate.
Yeah.
For me, it usually requires. For me, I grew up watching John Haney talk to me.
Yeah.
And like I said in our previous, until Liz, and I could see her face, and Uncle Danny held his tongue a certain way. But I had those models, you see.
Right.
And if I watch Rob Nesbitt, which stars Gregor Fisher, who plays the manager in Love Actually, it's a great series. But hey, Moneydall, and there's Jamesy Cotter who holds his feet, and I've joined the White Feather Club. I've got a physical model to go off.
Right.
That really, so for you to just be able to do it with a technique is super impressive. Because
well, you know what though? For some reason I don't think I could do the physical model the way you do it. I am almost exclusively ear, and I will take that and think, okay, he sort of said it that way. So I guess I start physically doing whatever I need to do. Yeah. But I don't think visually I'm able to learn that way. I just don't think it pans out for me like that. It's however you get there. I guess that's the whole point, is because you do you're in How to Train Your Dragon series right now.
Yes, I play Duggard.
Yes, which I thought was very impressive because I did the Dragons Riders of Bert series where I was Craig Ferguson, so I was governor. So I could do the Scottish. It's in my blood, so it's not it's not too much of an each. But I heard you doing it. I didn't know it was you.
Oh, good.
I thought, let me find out who it is. It's Carlos. Look at him crushing it.
Well, that's great. It's right. We talked about that as well. That's always great when you can fool your peers.
Right.
Yeah. And likewise with your work, even your stage reading when we read for Planes 3, which, oh boy.
Man, I wish that had gotten made.
Bishop, what was his name, first name? But he had a bar, he had Cheers bar all made up. It was about his family. I want to say Sean Bishop. Okay. And he loved that story and it was going to be great. And you just read the stage direction and made it so it was such a great storytelling. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, it is always nice when we can fool our peers and pull off something like you say with your sound like stuff. Or if I'm doing all the Billy Crystal stuff since 2001, the Monster Scale floor, the Monster Laugh floor right at Florida in the Disney World. 5 more minutes, folks. You're almost there. Raj, you're looking good. And for somebody, I'll go and hear it. And that was 2001. And my Billy Crystal has got by Wazowski. Yeah. I recently did Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay.
Has gotten much better. But it's good enough to fool some of the layperson. But like a comic impressing the waitstaff or other comics, when you can have another voice actor say, wow. And we all do that. Jeff Bennett is fun. His John Cleese, Josh Robert Thompson. I think we were talking about his Morgan Freeman, his Jeff Goldblum.
Oh yeah. Jim
Meskimen, Ross Marquand, who's on The Walking Dead, but also a very talented voiceover guy. Eric Bauza, Terrace Drunk, Ray Delisle, Kari Walgren. The ranges they can go to. Cree Summer. We all know. We could list all of them.
We can go on and on.
They're just so. DiMaggio, Tatasciore, Gary Anthony Williams, really underrated because he does a lot of on-camera stuff. But Gary can go places with his range that is pretty incredible. Cedric Yarbrough, when he's just goofing around, is like, dude, that is sick talent.
Yeah.
Singing, otherwise. I did a project recently with Tom Lennon, and he had to do a version of his character in a high-pitched thing, and he just snapped right into it, you know. And I went, of course, here was a guy from the State that did thousands of characters, but I just see him as Dangle, you know. And so
we forget that because didn't he have a show also called Viva Variety?
Yeah,
I think
it's kind of like
Viva Variety. It's like that. Yeah. All the stuff you've seen him do in movies. Yeah, and a lot of times he plays it almost completely straight.
Yes,
which is a talent because usually for us, give me scenery to chew. The fact that you can play it straight, be dry, do a lot with a look, and have all those other arrows in your quiver, to me, very impressive.
It is. I marvel, and maybe we've said this before. And we get to play with the best studio jazz musicians that exist on this planet. That will give you the note how you want it, how fast you want it, younger, older, stronger, weaker. What do you need? I've got it. I've got it in my toolkit. D. Baker always said that when I show up, I detonate my nuclear bomb. I'm going to give them what I give them.
Right.
And one of the best stories I heard was how he got the fish on American Dad.
Oh, yeah.
It was going to be a French accent. And he goes, I'm not going to do that because I won't be giving you my best. So I'm just going to go with a German accent. And if you like it, fine. And they did. A bold move.
Yes.
But he's right. He's right. I'm going to give you the best of what I have.
Right. Well, plus, I think he also said that they asked him, well, yeah, but, you know, he's written French. And he said, you know what? Everyone else is going to do French. You're going to have plenty of French to choose from.
Yeah. I
see him German. I'm gonna, and I think he got a call back and they said, I don't want to talk out of school, but even on the callback, they said, do you want to try French now? He said, no. Yeah. I'm going to stay. And this is a prime time show. That's a plum. That is not, I can only speak for myself, but I would have said, oh, yeah, I'll throw in a B take as a French.
Yeah.
But he didn't give him that option. That is straight up just saying, I am sticking to my guns.
That's a ballsy move, that D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have given him a B and a C, and I wouldn't have booked it.
Sometimes you got to go with your gut. You know, you got to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's all kinds of. But yeah, I would sit back in a Fairly Odd Parents record and just watch the symphonic back and forth between Darren Norris, who's underrated, Suzanne Blakesley, who's wonderful, underrated, Tara, not underrated because she's
everybody knows how great she is.
Yeah. Tara, and then Jeff Bennett would guest, and Gray Delisle, and Bowser. Just watching these people go back and forth, going, man, they're so good.
Yeah. Well, it makes you better because you want to get in there and play with them, and you find that, oh yeah, I'm reaching down deeper into my bag of tricks. I remember this was 2005 probably, when I got to be a regular on Celebrity Deathmatch when they brought it back for MTV2.
Yeah.
And the most fun I've had in a long time was working on that show, because every show they had 3 matches, 2 celebrities going at it, which means they brought in 6 voice actors. And sometimes it would be somebody that could do exactly 1 voice match, and they weren't even a real voice actor. They just were brought in because they sounded exactly like the celebrity. Other times it was guys like you and Nolan North and John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
And I think Phil Lamar, guys who could do a lot of people. And they brought you in to do Horatio Sands versus John DiMaggio's Chris Farley. And
wow.
I laughed so hard at you guys. I don't remember watching you guys go back and forth, and DiMaggio kills me too, because he's always down to riff.
Yeah. Then go ahead and finish the story, and I'll be reminded of that.
I would sit there and I would do mine, like I was doing Mills Lane and I was doing Nick Diamond. So I had my couple of voices I would contribute each show. But I would sit back and just turn to my right and just sit here and smile and laugh and try and keep it down so I didn't ruin the take, and think, man, I'm so lucky that these guys and gals keep coming in and dropping these pearls here. And it's so much fun. And I'm glad more people don't know about it, because I want those jobs for myself. I'm greedy.
Yes. The secret's out. Yeah. The riffing part was, I have a series that I'm trying to pitch, and I was talking to Bowser the other day
Uh-huh.
about political correctness and how we'll make some change. And I talked to Cedric because it is 4 black guys sitting on a corner in front of a Filipino cafe where I play the waiter. His name is Edilberto, named after my college professor in Sacramento State, Edilberto. And they are talking about things. It's called Off the Curb. And Fred Tatasciore and John DiMaggio play African Americans, and Gary Anthony Williams and Cedric play African Americans. And I talk about rebooting this, and it was right during the sort of the protests, and I said, Cedric, what are your thoughts on these white guys doing these characters? He's like, I know these guys are super talented, but you know what? It wouldn't hurt to maybe massage it a little bit and have them do something a little different. And I said, yeah, I don't have to change his cast. I can turn Fred and John into something. You probably know this reference, but nobody else does. You watch LSU football. You know Ed Orgeron. Oh, he never had too much hot sauce down there in Louisiana. And that's something you, and talk about Louisiana and Jim Cummings and freaking Tatiana, the Princess and the Frog.
That little fly, he did that firefly.
Yeah, and singing like that.
Yeah.
Man, but we were riffing one day in a session of El Tigre. And he's like, man, Frankenstein will whoop Dracula's ass. I'm like, hell no. Frankenstein will walk up on him like he's asleep in that coffin and tear him apart. And we started going back and forth. And I said, this is funny.
Yeah.
Let's do something called Monster Talk. And then, now, if your guests will look up Off the Curb on YouTube, we did 5 all improvised sessions, which my wife took and edited down to 3 minutes. And the topics are Monster Talk, Frankenstein versus Dracula, and it's Gary Anthony Williams, Fred Tatasciore, Cedric Yarborough, myself, and John DiMaggio. The later episodes involve my wife, Alerta, played by Eric Bauza, which is Halloween candy, your favorite Halloween candy.
Yeah.
But they're all improvised. Were animated by Oddbot Studios and edited by my wife. And there's 5 different ones. Weekend in Prison versus a Greyhound Trip. Who is the best president ever, or who's going to win this election?
Right.
And that was all started off a riff in our ability as voice actors to take that riff and just go with it. So the first one is Monster Talk, and it does begin with, see, and this is what I was trying to tell you last time, that Frankenstein will come up on Dracula and punch him right in the mouth. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you, Frankenstein would suck Dracula dry with those bolts were, and then Fred Tatasciore just goes, gentlemen, I must correct you. That's Frankenstein's monster. The real name of the monster is Tomas. Tomas? I ain't gonna let no motherfucker named Tomas whoop my ass. And Gary says, maybe if there was a monster named Laser or Fligo, I'd be running from that shit. But Tomas? And I'm like, where are these? It just goes.
Right. And that's what's so much fun about it. It's not just that you have the thought of the joke. It's that, oh, I actually have a voice to go with it.
Yes.
People forget that. I know people who are pretty good at riffing, improv, but they don't have a voice to create a character with it. They might be able to tweak something here or there. Their minds are really quick, but to have the voice and the mind, again, hats off.
Exactly. And yes, for me, my comic books are sports. And so they go, hey, Alberto, who do you think would win? Alberto, Edilberto. Yeah, Alfonso, Edilberto. Who do you think would win a battle between Dracula? And I just know sports. Well, Frankenstein would not be in the same weight class because he's probably a heavyweight or light heavyweight. And Dracula's probably a bantamweight. So right away, that's not fair. You know, start going into boxing terminology. Yeah. And of course, this guy would be a boxer because he looks exactly like Manny Pacquiao. Because I said, I want you to animate it like Manny Pacquiao. But so yeah, we all use our skill set or our resources, that of which we know most about, and inject it into those types of riffing things. And this was based upon conversations I witnessed when I was in Seattle of black folks just being able to talk. Oh no, man. We were in Oakland. My brother lives in Piedmont. We went to McDonald's in Oakland, and it would say, man, Daryl LaMonica was the best creator. You talk about Daryl LaMonica. Now, Kenny Stabler, that guy could throw a football. And right in the middle of a McDonald's, this serious and passionate debate, you know. And so I'm spot on. I'm spot on.
Yeah.
You know?
And what I love is to be able to take our ideas now, because technology is advanced to the point where you can achieve quite a bit without ever getting a studio involved. If you
Yeah.
know, like my brother's an animator, so he actually knows how to animate. So
Yeah.
we did something similar to that. We did something called Happy Hour because I asked my brother, because over the years I would do a voice, I'd send it to him, he would animate a character to it, or he'd create a 3D character, send it to me, I'd do a voice, and he would lip sync to it. I said, this is pretty interesting. We should do something. I said, so what's the easiest thing to animate? He said, something with no arms or legs. It's less for me to have to do. So I said, okay. So we came up with an idea called Happy Hour, and it's just these different glasses full of liquor talking to each other. Same thing, riffing about their environment, about what's going on. And so we were able to do that. Unfortunately, you also realize that even with the tech we have, animation is tough. And for one person to do it, for a 1.5-minute clip, it would take him 2 weeks. And I said,
insane.
we got to get somebody else involved at some point. Yeah, so you do have to eventually farm that out to a crew of people. Yeah, is that what the big sticking point for you guys was? It's not for lack of ideas.
No, Oddbot and then selling it. And, recently Quibi is trying to survive. We will be going back on Reno 911 shooting in a couple of weeks. And I might have to be in a bubble, so going to miss some work. But that's fine. I'm very lucky. But this format was perfect for Quibi because they're like 3-minute episodes. And we tried to sell it to Cartoon Network, but they were so short that how can we expand this idea of guys talking about stuff? And I said, well, we can seat them at the table and then take them on an adventure. Man, if I had a rocket ship, I'd go to Venus instead of the moon. Vita, what are you talking about, Venus? Venus got a hot tub up there. And then, of course, we would go, or you remember that time when you were a kid? And it would be like Cosby Kid kind of stuff.
Right.
And you tried to steal that buffalo head off the wall of that hunting lodge.
Right.
And then we could just go and recap that story. But in its essence as it is, I like the idea of just being privy to a conversation. And if you go to all of them, we have sections where now, because they're arguing about Frankenstein versus Dracula, and I play this character named Darrell who comes by and goes, the werewolf. Hey, Darrell had got a point. All them other monsters all week long, working all week and building up the werewolf. He's saving up all his monster superpowers for one night, full moon. Boom, like a woman on PMS. And that part is animated.
Right.
They show monsters on a girder beam eating their lunch because they're working all week. And then the werewolf ripping a tampon apart with a full moon behind him. And that's what we animated.
So they won't be on Nick Jr.
They will not be on Nick Jr. They are on YouTube. So yeah, we tried to find a home for it. We weren't limited by budget or animation. We had a sponsor. Aaron Simpson was working for a company. And then I was able to, with that budget, pay Oddbot. We got a budget to make it.
Right.
And they did Dick Figures, this particular 6-point harness did Dick Figures, which actually ended up doing a movie with. It was all online, really before huge Instagram or TikTok.
Right.
And then Brendan out of 6-point harness is still working, I believe, for that company, or he might have left. But we had backing. We just couldn't find a home for it with that format. But as you know, your ideas, you keep them. You always repurpose them. So
exactly. And plus, these days, webisodes are a thing. And so something can be 2 or 3 minutes, find a home. And you could go the all organic route and just say, you know what, I'm going to create a YouTube channel just for these things, and I'm going to slowly draw an audience. And if the audience gets large enough, then you can monetize it that way. Or somebody in programming at one of the networks, one of the media outlets may look at it and say, this already has a built-in audience.
Yep.
As you know, they love to do as little work as possible.
Oh, yeah.
For you to, it's the programming equivalent of four-walling at a comedy club. It's a bringer room. Yeah. So, we'll take your show, but you have to bring the audience, too. We'll just put it up somewhere.
Exactly. So. Kevin Rooney, a comedian, used to write for Jay Leno on Put It Best. Hollywood is a place where people gather where lightning last struck.
Yeah.
Right around the hole.
Somebody told me that, too. If you're writing a script, he says, you know what they want? They want different, the same. I want what worked, but give me a riff on it. Don't give me something completely new because I can't risk my career on that. So.
Yeah, Joe Michelle Millian and I rewrote Witness Infection. That's a film we did. And it borrows from different tropes, which you've seen before, but it's basically a mob boss's son is trying desperately to get out of an arranged marriage, 2 warring families and witness protection, poison sausage, and the zombie apocalypse comes along, and now they have to deal with that instead of the arranged marriage. Maurice LaMarche, Aaron Hayes, Tara Strong, myself, Joe Michelle Melian, Gary Anthony Williams, Joe Reitman, etc. Go to witnessinfection.com and check that out. Our second movie is a newer version of a movie that's been done before, a classic. So we're doing what you said.
Right.
We're hitting the nail on the head by referencing that film.
Yeah.
But yeah, we think that it's so trite and so tropish that it probably could get made, because like, yeah, it worked back then.
Yeah.
But now it's this Latino version of that. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. Why? You know what I mean? And so that's what we're writing right now, and we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, you only have to be right one time. I was talking to the cast of Apex Legends, which is a game I'm currently in that I'm known for, and we'll do these Zoom parties and talk to each other. And some of the cast, some of the writers are single, and they're lamenting what it is like to be single, especially during a pandemic, and how they can't find the right match, this and that. I said, guys, I was single till I met my wife when I was 38. I got married at 40. Okay. I obviously was out in the dating pool for a long time. You only need to be right one time, and then you've found your partner. Same thing goes for your projects. You can make a ton of them. I've made tons of them over my career, and they never go anywhere. I only need one of them to hit, and then I'm on the board. It's Glengarry Glen Ross. Put me on the board.
Yeah, that's right.
Now,
if you just had the leads, I just gotta get the leads.
Nobody ever does Alan Arkin from that movie. Nobody ever does Alan Arkin.
No, it's Kevin Pollak, very famous.
Is that why? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. Yeah.
Kevin Pollak having Alan Arkin call Kevin Pollak on his answering machine. Kevin, it's Alan. Are you doing me? I heard you doing me. Kevin, stop doing me.
That's a really good Alan Arkin.
It's me doing Kevin Pollak doing Alan Arkin. Yeah. That's
what I like about some of the really great impressionists is sometimes as I was coming up, I couldn't figure out how to do a voice, or it wouldn't even occur to me. I'd hear an impressionist do it and I'd say, oh, that's the way in. Okay, that's what you focus on. All right, now I understand. So yeah, you sometimes you need someone else to crack the code for you.
Yeah, like your brother with the tongue exercise.
And getting back to that, the only time I studied a tape for Australian accents, and it was a cassette, and it said to go through your nose and push your tongue to the top of your mouth. So that you're flattening out all the vowel sounds, and you're saying 18, 19, 20. The D's on the T's and the T numbers.
Right.
And because I wanted Rocco to be authentic, to be.
And if you see the original Rocco pilot,
small dogs and trash are not a part of a balanced diet.
Way more Australian. They thought that was going to be hard to understand, so season 1 becomes
more Cockney, like, oh no, Heather, I think we need to go. You never really hear him go, hey, guys, we need to get over there.
Right.
We have to go over there.
It's more Cockney than it is Australian, but I did study that, and I remember nasally, tongue to the top of the mouth, and push it out through your nose.
I love hearing the nuts and bolts about how these characters are created, because a lot of people, especially, and I have a lot of aspiring voice actors that watch these, and they'll wonder, geez, how did you get there? How did you get here? A lot of times it's very serendipitous. You take your bag of tools, and you might have been going in one direction, and they like you enough to cast you, but once they get you in there, sometimes they say, you know what, now we've got you. Everything's set. Let's play around with this a little bit, and there you go. Now you've got the final version of Rocco, which has become this iconic character. But it wasn't,
And when I think about it, with that accent, like that's not Australian, it kind of makes him a little bit softer and a little bit more likable, if you will.
And there are Australians that they don't all talk like that, and blooming onion. There's some that are softer, little different as you go up the economic class, like in any culture. This is true of a show called Trece, which is Filipino. And I'm going on the computer because I had the Filipinos in Seramonte Center, my professor, and there's a guy on YouTube that's telling you how to say the words. For example, my mom will say, "You are using too much cooking oil on the food." But when I get to Trece, I play a character named Anton, who's in the military, whose accent is not that thick Tagalog. It's more Spanish. So I remember having to go back on pickups and take, I want you to pay, because I recorded
I want you to pay him a visit. And they said, your visit would work if he were more Tagalog. But we need to make that a V, like Spanish.
Okay.
So it's a lighter V. So your visit, I want you to go give him a visit. So there's still like a slight different than Spanish, but not visit. So little things like that, because we had linguists on the show saying that, well, he's from this region, he's of this class, so he won't be right there. The creation of Crocker was Montgomery Burns, borrow from the best, Richard Dreyfuss, and Gene Wilder, all mixed together.
Oh, man.
So you have the, oh, mother, where are you, mother? That's totally Smithers.
Yeah.
Although his is deeper and slower.
Yeah.
Then you have Richard Dreyfuss, Timmy Turner, and then you have Gene Wilder. Set a give. So you get, I know who you are. Hey, on Biz. So you throw it all together.
When you threw those three names out, I thought to myself, that is one tightly wrapped individual.
Yes,
because,
right.
Yeah,
that's who Crocker is.
And I love hearing that too, because I've talked to numerous voice actors who do say this. They'll say, if you want to do a really good original character, take from characters that already exist, but just take a facet. Don't just ape one character and say, oh, it's a new one. It's not new, but take facets. Because believe it or not, people out there, the famous characters you love to see were based on people in that person's life.
Yeah.
Everybody draws from someone they knew, like with your Filipino professor. Now he's a character in your project. It's based on reality, and then you give it your spin. And now you've got something new.
Duggard, Monroe, all the Scottish characters I learned growing up as a kid. All the Spanish stuff I did. My mom, la puta que te parió, which is very dirty. Pero Carlitos, like your wife, with her accent, her dialect will help your kids. And your son and my daughter have actually worked on the same project at Cartoon Network, which is pretty cool.
Oh, really? Which project?
I want to say Summer Camp Island, maybe?
Yeah, Summer Camp Island.
Yeah.
My son we had to delay his recording session because he just got an expander, an orthodontic.
Same with Riley.
Yeah.
Takes a couple weeks and he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Now she's got the bottom expander,
but
it's one you can pull out because it was too much.
All right,
so don't worry. He'll be fine in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Yeah, because he had it like 2 days after his, and I said, no, he's going to need some time. He's going to need a little time. But,
it'll be about 10 days max, and he'll be fine.
Good.
Expander talk.
Expander talk here with Chris and Carlos.
Sometimes I borrow from myself with octaves. If you listen to the helicopter pilot in Inside Out, come, fly with me, Gachiña, you will hear, Yo quiero Taco Bell. You listen to Dad's fear in Inside Out as, sir, I'm detecting a high level of sass. The foot is down. You will hear Garcia going, hey, get down or I'm going to take you into jail. So I borrow from myself at a little bit of a different.
If you listen to Rocco, you're going to hear Spyro and you're going to hear Laszlo.
So it's all dancing in the same octave.
And hey,
just give it little twitches.
Guess who did it? Mel Blanc, the greatest.
Yeah.
I mean, Sylvester and Daffy and Bugs, they're all coming from the same person. You can hear that timbre in there. And there's a little note of one and the other. But, we've all done it. I mean, I did Peter Polish on Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. So, hey, this guy here. And then, while I was busy recording that character, I got to do one line in Happy Feet, which I know you worked on.
Yes.
With Robin Williams. So I got to do one line at the end, and it was a penguin who just said, how'd that feet thing go again? And I didn't start with that. I started with something in the ballpark. They kept directing me towards it, and I thought, I'm doing Potamus just about, but not quite.
Yes.
So, and with Robin Williams, the amount of riffing there must have been through the roof.
It was amazing. I'm glad we get to talk about this experience. I've got a few minutes to go.
Yeah, okay.
Both Happy Feets, incredible. I knew Robin from the stand-up scene.
Okay.
The first times I ever met Robin, met him because I danced around at the Other Cafe in the 90s, in the late 80s. Well, I saw him at the Other, and then we'd see him. I'm standing watching a comic, I think Brian Regan, the Punchline, and I hear this person come up to bed. He goes, my daughter loves Rocco. You're the voice of Rocco. And then years later, we get to work with him on both Happy Feets. Yeah. And in the second one in Australia, he had gone through his rehab. He had met Susan, his first wife, and me, Johnny Sanchez. And
Robin all took pictures because we all had tall wives, way taller than us. And we were doing comedy every night, Jeff Garcia and I. And we would just go out every night. Elijah Wood would go with us. And we were trying places to do comedy in Sydney. And one night, Robin's like, hey, do you mind if I go with you guys? And we're like, no. So he comes, Elijah comes, a lot of the crew. George Miller didn't go. But we went to this place called the Sugar Mill. We're doing comedy with the writer Gary Eck. And Robin's sitting in the audience, and everybody's on their cell phones texting, oh my God, you won't believe who's here, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
And he went up and did a set and performed, and it was magic. And I was part of that night, and it'll never happen again. But I will say that he is a human being, and George Miller is a human being. There was no tears. There was no pomp and circumstance. They just like people.
Yeah.
What I love, they're Australians. They're like, wow, how are you guys? Hey, you guys want to hang out? He was walking around. We landed in Sydney. We get out. We're all jet lagged. We're like, let's go find a place to eat. And Robin is walking around the pier there by the Sydney Opera House, the Key Grand Hotel, by himself. And we go, let's talk with him. We're like, oh my God, you're Robin Williams. And he's like, oh, fuck you guys. Oh, good to see you. How you doing, man? Let's go to lunch. And he takes us all to lunch. And George Miller was the same way. Guys, I hope you don't mind if we throw a party for you tonight and you want to come over. And I'm like, who are these guys? Because, Hollywood is like, you can't talk to this director unless you...
Right.
There was none of that. And it was so warm and wonderful. And Robin stood for 8 hours while Jeff Garcia, Lombardo Boyar, Johnny Sanchez, and I would have to sit down. Even Hank Azaria and E.G. Daly would have to take a rest. But Robin's like, what do you want, George? You want more? Should I go more? Faster? Slower?
Yeah.
This guy was amazing. And just both of them really good human beings. And it's a great lesson that these guys are international stars. You could argue Elijah as well. And even Hank Azaria.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure.
Great, decent people. And that is like, we hope we can all get that lucky because we're going to bump into the other stuff quite a bit.
Oh, yes. So. Yes. And I getting to work on The Simpsons, I've gotten to see quite a few Oscar winners, A-list people walk through that door. And I'm fortunate. They're always on their best behavior. Yes. I imagine they're nice anyway, but you're on a show that tends to be bigger than almost anyone that's on it. Yeah. And it is nice, though, when you do meet somebody who, and I've never seen anyone be a problem, but it is nice when you meet somebody that just exudes this kindness and this warmth. Like Bryan Cranston on The Simpsons. Yeah. He was sitting there making jokes with me, and I thought, I'm just me. And he's sitting there treating me like an equal. Yeah. What more could you ask for?
So cool. One of my last gigs, right before the lockdown, on the Fox lot, totally empty, doing a couple of characters for Duncan Bill. I walk into the ADR room. Ty Burrell is there. Celebrity, huge, really good actor. And he's going through his ADR. And you know how some celebs cannot handle the beeps.
Right.
He was crushing it. Different octaves, different paces, A, B's, and C's. And I'm like, and he's like, hi, how are you? I'm Ty. I'm like, I hate you.
Yeah.
You're way too good of an actor. You're way too good at voiceover acting. And you're too nice. Nope, not fair. He was such a nice guy.
I know.
So good.
Yeah.
And we all... Yeah, we like to tell those stories, right?
Well, yeah, because I think some people think we have to be ruthless if you want to make it. There are ruthless people who have made it, but they create this current that pushes against them because a lot of people don't like being around assholes. Yeah. And I think it was Harold Ramis, may he rest in peace, once wrote, it's just so much easier to be a nice person. First of all, it's good to be a nice person, but also career-wise, if you're a nice person, people will root for you to succeed. If you're an asshole, you'll create enemies, and enemies love to see their enemies go down. So why don't you just be a nice person? Yeah. Just from a selfish, greedy career standpoint, just be nice and do yourself a favor.
Well, I think what we talked about on the last session, which was the practice, once you get your first colonoscopy, that softens you a bit. You're so vulnerable. You're like, why is I being a dick?
You've been tapped by nature, and you're like, oh, this body can break down. I understand now.
Your polyps don't care how many Emmys you have.
Yes, and hey, I think that's a good place to put a button on it.
I think so.
Well, Carlos, we'll have to have you back because 55 minutes is not enough time to talk about all that. We didn't even get into politics because we burned that on the last one, which I couldn't use because the tech was bad.
Yeah,
but it does segue into being a nice person, right? So.
Yeah. Without Carlos and I regaling you with our political thoughts, let's just say we like it when politicians and other people are nice people and don't blame other people for things that they're responsible for.
Bring people together. The country works best when we have the Tip O'Neill, Ronald Reagan model. And we hope to get back to that and go on to greener pastures combined with current pastures.
Yes.
It's all about nuance and discourse as opposed to agenda-based arguing. That's what we got. And hopefully that can happen.
Yeah, well, hey, fingers crossed. I already voted. I dropped mine off at the box.
I'm dropping mine off today.
There you go, brother. All right, democracy in action. Thank you so much.
We will invite you as a dad to our dad socially distanced safe whiskey nights. And
do that.
And we'll get drunk. We'll get bluter, as they say. We'll get our swally on and get real bluter.
I'll be Craig, and you can be Billy Connolly. You be Billy.
Right. Oh, let's pull out the old ukulele.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, Chris, great talking to you. Let's do it again.